welcome you today. I'm Dr. Bill, and I'm going to bring you through the idea of electrifying Stehekin. Okay, where this all comes from is capturing the electricity that maybe you didn't know you had. Okay, how am I going to capture electricity? Well, we all know that when we flip on the light switch in our home, we're relying on those big power lines that bring the power from the hydroelectric dams in this Pacific Northwest region back to our houses. Okay, that's great, man. The electricity is always on. But you know that up in Stehekin, we have a different challenge. There, it's not just getting that little bit of a hydroelectric power that is generating electricity for us, but maybe we're off the grid a little bit further. We're not connected to the big grid. So what we're going to be talking about today is capturing that power into a battery set and then converting that through an inverter to a 110 volt electricity. Let's talk about this one a little bit. I'm going to bring you over to my best friend, the donkey. A pickup truck. Had it for a few years. I think it's only 25 years old. But what we're going to do... Okay, so come on up here. Now, in this very simple motor, you know that you have a couple of things that are very, very important. One of them is this rascal right here. It's an alternator. Okay, this alternator, of course, when the motor is running, it is turning the motor, which turns the crankcase, which generates the fan to cool the motor, and around that little strap right here turns the alternator. That alternator is what generates electricity to put the power not only for running the electronics of the truck, but also to this battery. Okay, this battery right here, it's the mindset of the entire truck. You got to have this. So right now, every one of us will do it. We'll flip on the radio. Right, the truck's not even running. Where does it get its electricity? Yeah, it gets it off that battery. But you don't want to drain that battery down too far, because when that battery goes dead, you're dead. You got to jump start your car to get it alternating again. Okay, alternator runs it. But now here's the little flip around. Look over here to find this switch right here. Okay, this switch, when I flip that rascal around, oh, it just did a thump, and what that was is it tells me that this power source, when it comes from the alternator, it's running that up here. It ultimately lands at the battery. That charges up the battery every time you start your truck or run it off the radio too long. Yeah, that's fine. This is the way to recharge it. Me flipping that switch, it told the truck, you can jump start yourself. What? Okay, how am I going to jump start myself? It's simple. That I have that converter that says when the truck is running, its first mission is to recharge that battery. It takes about 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe. Okay, great. The extra electricity that isn't recharging the battery now goes to an auxiliary battery bank. That is in the back of the truck. Let's take a look. So let's pop open back into this little toolbox. Well, what kind of tools do I put in here? Take a look right down here. You've got that of lead acid batteries that are charging up the power that comes off of that motor that wasn't used on the main battery. Yeah, now I have this entire battery bank. Wow, why would I put the entire battery bank in there? That's kind of heavy. It's not too much of a risk with this very nice box set that I have up here. But the idea is that now I have a battery source that I can store up that electricity that wasn't being used by the truck. It's not needed. That alternator is a stock alternator. Okay, I've had it repaired once, but yeah, it's built so that it can recharge these batteries on demand. So now that gives me that power source of 12 volt electricity. It's not yet 110. So we're going to take a different look at this from a different angle. Oh, we come back to this side of the truck now. You know, the front end's over here, but I'm going to open up the back door, and we're going to take a gander right inside of this to say, looking back to this rear end, we see this little box right here? Well, that is connected to the battery bank. Okay, so you got the idea. It's coming from the alternator to that battery bank, and then from the battery bank to this inverter. This inverter is the secret sauce that says, I'm going to take that 12 volt and invert it into 110 volt electricity. Okay, now, so I have 110 volt, and right here, what have I got? Well, this is just a little sideline of a refrigerator. You know, why would I have this? Okay, you all know that I'm a forester as well, and as a forester, I was working in the woods, and sometimes I would take samples from the trees, like increment cores, really. Drill into the core, pull out a sample of it, and we would take it back to things like mass spectrometry. Okay, as soon as I do that, though, I need to keep it refrigerated. Okay, I also know that right now it's not too hot out, but I'll take water in the truck as well, and I'll be able to refrigerate what I have up here. Okay, this is just a part of saying I need this refrigerator to be able to run on 110. Okay, that's a little tiny step because that barely uses any electricity at all. And you know that it is running right now because over here on the inverter, you can see it running out the power from the 12 volt to make it into 110. Okay, that is the logical flow of what has to happen. Super simple when I'm talking about just this refrigerator, but I'll back you up in a little bit of time. My father and I, and then my wife and I, 3 different trips, we drove to Alaska, right? Right here from the Pacific Northwest, from Washington State, we drove to Alaska, and there we went salmon and halibut fishing. Every night we would pull that salmon out, that halibut out, we'd fillet it, put it into vacuum bags, we'd vacuum pack them. And right in the back of the truck here, put them in our deep freeze. 9 cubic foot freezer, yeah, set in the back of the truck. Every night the fresh salmon and halibut would be dropped into the freezer and kept frozen, running off of that inverter. Okay, so you get the idea now. I'm able to capture that electricity, I'm able to use it. This is very simple for something like a pickup truck where we're driving it from place to place and being able to turn it off like it is now and have the battery operation still storing the electricity and then converting it into 110. That is what the inverter does for us, puts it into the usable set. So I want you to think about all the different places where we are off the grid, like Stehekin. It's off the main power grid. It has no 110 volt power being supplied by those hydroelectric dams. We've got to come up with a different way. And when you do that, capture the electricity in some type of a battery bank. Okay, very inexpensive battery set that I have here, the lead batteries, that's nice. But get something like the lithium-ion batteries. Because on these lead batteries, I can only take them down about 20% of their full load. And then it won't give any more. But I go to the good lithium-ion battery, I can take that down to maybe 50, 60% of the battery storage. Okay, that's a lot more efficient. A great way for you to think about how you're going to port that data, how you're going to port that electricity from the batteries over to your use. So that's just the first perspective of this entire idea. Think about the electricity you will capture. Can you store it? Then you got to have that inverter to send it out. Put it into the usable form of your 112 volt electricity. That's your challenge for the day. Good luck.